To everyone who is joining, I'm excited to welcome you to our first What's New with Influence of 2021. I almost said 2020, but thank goodness that year has passed. This is 2021. It's a new year. This is a new series that we're starting in support of our newsletter called The Fix, just to let everyone know a little bit more about some of the new features that we've rolled out, how you might use them, just make sure you didn't miss anything. And also to those of you who are new to the influence marketing platform, to make sure that you're aware of some of the cool new things that we're offering as well. So I'm excited to talk to Dave. Dave, do you want to introduce yourself a little?
Sure, I am Dave Cacioppo, President and CEO of Emfluence, and very passionate about our marketing platform. And so I'm always excited to announce and show off new features, as well as be a part of the team determining what features make it into the queue and how and when we roll things out. So happy to be here today.
And we have a lot of really exciting features. If you don't know me, my name is Natalie Jackson. I do a lot of our marketing automation strategy conversations. I'm a big email geek, a CRM geek, and happy to chat about either of those things. But without further ado, we are recording this so you can check back on it later. If you missed something, don't feel like you have to take copious notes. You can always come back and reference the video. We've got a lot of stuff to cover. We've got more than a dozen features to cover today.
Yes,
Great.
Lots of cool stuff.
Yeah, well, let's go ahead and go ahead.
You want to grant me screen sharing access, and I will share some cool stuff.
I do, yeah. So we're going to go ahead and start with our, let me find where to grant you those presenter rights. We're going to go ahead and start with landing pages. And actually, Dave, you should be able to share a screen just by clicking on the, well, there we go. Now you should be able to share, and let's go ahead and get going. We'll start with landing pages.
Okay, let's do it. All right, so I think a lot of you probably are aware we rolled out a brand new version of the landing page generator. It is a drag and drop landing page generator, and the team really executed well on this. We still feel like it's a little bit underutilized by some of our client base, and maybe there's some apprehension around it, or some folks that just don't have a need for landing pages. We know that the primary use of our clients is for email and workflows and things like that, but we have a really powerful landing page generator, and we're going to take a look at the basics of that and then some of the most recent enhancements around that. So to get there, we just go to pages, and that'll bring us to the landing pages default page. And I'm going to pull up a page that I've already kind of got in a draft mode. So it's just a LPG demo here. And like when you're composing an email, we walk you through some steps. And so the first step is to select a template. And so if I go back here, I can see that we have a few options now. So there's either start with a template that may have been custom coded for you, drag and drop, or paste in code for the folks out there that really just like to write their own code. But what we're going to do is we're going to start with an existing theme. And so we have some default themes for you, but you can also create and save your own pages as themes so that you can use those over and over again. And so as you think about a theme, it's very similar to an email template, but it's basically just a starter. So it's going to bring up some simple information, and then you're going to fill in the blanks from there. So as I mentioned, any page that you create, you can save as a theme, and we'll show that as well. So once you bring your page up, you've selected your template, you've got some landing page creation work to do. If we detect that there's a form on your page, we're going to show you an option for response page. And so that's going to be what happens when I click submit. We'll have some settings associated with the page, and then we'll be able to publish it. And so we're going to give it a simple title. You can put in an HTML title if you would like. If you don't, we'll default this title in there. Description is for your internal use only. And then we allow you to put in some meta tags and things. So these are all things that were in our first version of our landing page generator carried over because they're high value. Then for those of you that have used this before, you know that we start you with a default URL, and it's just hostedlandingpages.net or .com. And we're going to give you a big, long, unrecognizable code there so that you have some place to put your page while you're working on it. We don't anticipate that you'll keep that page. We think what you should do is choose from either an influenced managed URL. So you can put a subdomain in the front of hostedlandingpage.com or hostedlandingpages.com, and then put your own page name after that. Ideally, what you would do is something branded. So in that scenario, we would set up a subdomain that points to our server. So something like more.yourcompany.com. And if you do that, you can use this alternate location and type in whatever URL that you'd like to use there. So we're going to keep it this way for now. And if you need any assistance with the subdomain setup or anything like that, you can let us know. Failure URL is if you, because landing pages have a temporary nature to them, they're probably going to be something that you want to take down at some point. If that link is out there, maybe in an old email that someone comes across or it got posted on a blog somewhere, and someone tries to visit it, where would you like us to redirect the user? And so in most cases, it might be your homepage or to another page with similar content, something like that. So real easy to set up there. Once you get into the actual composition of a landing page, highly recommend that you go to full screen mode. And so I think this is something that gets kind of overlooked by people. Same is true for email. Bumping into full screen mode is just going to give you a much better composing experience. And so we basically got a full width page here. We can preview it as a tablet size, and we can see what it's going to look as it shrinks down to a mobile device. So some really good responsive tools to help you manage the page. So there are layout parts to this page. So if we wanted to add some sort of a header up at the top, I could just click and drag, and you'll see this is just a lot like email creation. I can drop in an image here, and I'm going to have some simple tools for deciding how that image behaves. So we'll pull up our image editor, and we'll go grab the Emfluence logo, drop that in. And then, probably what I want to do here is take the width down a little bit so it's easy to scale it. But also what I'd like to do is put some padding around this. So I'm going to go down to padding. I'm going to put a little bit on the top, and I put a little bit on the bottom. And then I'm going to take a look at how is that logo going to appear as I switch between my responsive modes. So you can tweak that until you're happy with how it looks in general. The rest of it, again, feels very much like you're creating a page or creating an email with our drag and drop email editor. Some new things that we have for you, the ability to drag and drop YouTube or video content, or Vimeo, excuse me, content out there. So if I drag Vimeo out here, I'm going to have to put in a URL here. And so I've got a, let's see here, somewhere I've got there we go. Grab a URL here and go back to our page, and we'll drop that in. And Vimeo gives us a few options for an intro, portrait, title, some byline stuff, and you can kind of play with that. Do you want this video to play on loop? I'm going to go back to this content block, and because it's tucked up to the top here, I probably want to drop in a little spacer above it to give me some room. Oops, I put that in the wrong spot. Let's try that again. Okay, oops, drag him down here. There we go. And then I can modify that spacer, say I want a little bit extra space at the top, and you can see it just nicely centers down there. So same thing with YouTube, you're just going to paste in a URL there, and you'll have some options for how you want that video to behave. So with that, some more updates to landing pages. So we have some more options for linking images and buttons on landing pages. And essentially, what we're looking at there is if we go into edit this content here, I can now send that to multiple locations. So what was my target? So in this case, we can have it be a new window, a blank window, top window. So basically, if you don't want someone moving away from your page, you can open the page in a new window. So that was a feature request from several clients that were actively using lots of landing pages. Let's see here. Next, we've got dynamic dates on landing pages. And so this is if you want to put in a date, you can go up here to the toolbar, insert a dynamic date, and we can put a format to that. We want to say that that's month, day, year with 2 digits on the year, and we want to add 7 days to that. And that's going to drop in that. Oops, put 7D, sorry about that. So when this page actually renders, when anybody looks at it, it's going to have the date plus 7 days, implying that something is going to happen a week from now. So some really nice features there. Let's see here. We've got the option to prevent blank entries. So I'm going to go ahead and save this, and we'll bounce out of full screen mode and hop over to our response page. Actually, the first thing I need to do is go and drop in a form. So let me go do that real quick. I'll come down
and
here
while
to
you
the
do
bottom.
that, while you do that, some of the things I really love about this drag and drop landing page builder are that you still get to drop in personalization as easy as you would in an email. It's as easy to add variables here and variable content and custom fields as it is in an email. So you can make some really cool personalized landing pages, but also just the ability to control things at the page level, like font sizes, font families, and setting fallbacks, and even adding ad script is so easy in this new drag and drop editor that I personally, as a user, really enjoy that.
Yeah, some really cool stuff there. And for folks out there that would like to use custom fonts, we know that does not work well in email, but it works fantastically on landing pages. And so you can just go into your HTML content head and you can drop in your Google fonts here. And those fonts can be then used throughout your page. And so you really get some great looking landing pages, and you can see that they can be developed and deployed really, really quickly. So I did drop in a form. So that was just a matter of dropping in a content element for a form. And so then you're allowed to select which form you have. If you don't have one, you can create a brand new one, but we had a nice handy one for B2B sign up here. So I'm going to save that. And again, we'll bounce out of our full screen mode. And when we hit next, notice that this response page step will light up because it recognizes there's a form there. So here we are, response page. Now, you can either have an existing page. So if they submit the form, you can send them to your homepage. Probably not the best experience, or you can create a page. And to create a page, you could again go select the drag and drop editor, and you could pick from that template and choose the same one, or you could pick from any of your existing themes. So in this case, I'm going to copy from the current page that I'm using. And what I probably would do there is just go in and delete the bulk of this content and say, thank you for registering or for filling out the form or whatever my message is there. But some really simple tools for doing that. A new tool we have is the option to not overwrite existing contact data with blank form field values. So for example, if someone fills out part of a form, but not all of it, it's going to populate into the marketing platform. And if you select this option and they left their title blank or their company name blank, and in Emfluence you already have those values, we will not overwrite them with blank values. So you get to choose. You can either ignore those blank values or you can overwrite the existing data. So that's again a new feature on landing pages. Another cool thing is that we can go in and we can save. I'm going to go ahead and finish, save this page. We won't walk the rest of the way through other than I'll give you a quick glance at it. Settings is just who on your team has access, and then publish is to actually set this page to active. And this is all tied over from our original landing page generator. Still works the same way as it always did. So we're going to go ahead and save that. And I'm going to go back to pages and we'll look at managing themes. So this is a new piece as well. This is that landing page we just created. And so the only theme that we currently had available when we went to custom themes was this one called New Drag and Drop Editor. If I want to add any existing page that I have to a theme, I just simply check the button and close. And then we can come back, and when we say I want to create a new page, we can see that we go to drag and drop and our new theme will show up in the default themes. I think we may not have saved that. So let me go back to that again. Pages and themes. Yep. Okay.
And this is one thing I love about Emfluence too as a user is that you've got options to custom code things as well as use the drag and drop and customize that experience too. So I feel like it's really great for people like me who are a little bit intimidated by HTML. I can still get in and make some customizations, whereas our developers who are very clever, crafty in HTML can also use it and make things that are way prettier and interactive and really cool too.
Yeah. So here's that theme showing up now. It's the LPG demo 3/31/2002 there, or 3/31. Yeah, I put the wrong year in there. Anyway, very easy to do and highly useful if you're using the same basic layout, which you probably should be and probably are for your landing pages. So last little item here on landing pages is it's pretty technical, but if you choose to embed a landing page on your website, so if you have a WordPress theme or something like that and you would like to compose a landing page in our system, but have it actually live on your website, you can use this embed code. And so you can tell from this screen, it's technical right out of the gate. We have a message ID parameter URL that is M. And so M equals message ID here is basically telling our system if this content needs to be personalized, personalize it for this individual. If you need to change this variable, and again, this is a very technical thing, but if for some reason M does not work for you, you can change it to whatever you want. Or you can also do some customizing of the iframe styles. So again, this is feedback we got from some customers saying, I love this feature, but I need the width to be controlled for the landing page content, or I need the height or a border or something like that. So you're free to put in whatever styles make sense for you there.
And I love this too for the people who have WordPress sites, right? So like obviously for our WordPress users, having that WordPress plugin directly feed Emfluence is super handy and really a great experience, but not everybody gets to use WordPress. And so that's a really nice option, I think, for those two. And you actually have a question in the chat. So are the tools to add SEO and tags for ADA compliance? Do you want to speak to that a little bit?
Sure. So you can put in whatever tag you would like. So their meta tags, you can put in the name of the tag and the content, and we'll automatically format that for you. For things like ADA compliance, you're going to want to go to your images actually and put in alt tags there. So that would not be handled in the meta tags. My personal philosophy on the use of meta tags in landing pages is they're not super high value for the most part. If you're trying to put keywords and descriptions, that's really just some basic SEO tactics. And because landing pages are so temporary in nature, the likelihood that you're going to get any kind of meaningful index is pretty low. But you're welcome to give it a shot, and maybe something will work out for you. Feature is certainly there.
Great. So does that take us through landing pages?
That takes us through landing pages. Yep.
Awesome. Let's go next to the contact detail record. And this is as you queue that up, this is one of my favorite features in the influence marketing platform because you get to see so much data on any individual contact. It's really cool for me to be able to see all of the stuff that's included in here. So what's new in the contact detail record?
Yeah, so completely new layout here for starters. So we've separated things out into tabs. So your contact detail is going to have all of your standard fields here on the left, your content variables, Perl value here, if you're going to use personalized URLs for landing pages, and then all your custom fields over to the right. We have a groups tab, so this will give you an indication of what groups Natalie is part of here.
We can't see your tab window.
Oh, you can't. All right, let's see here.
There you go. We can only see my email address.
Okay, let's try this.
There you go.
Yes. Okay, so all right, let me go back to the contact detail. Sorry about that. So we have standard fields here on the left, your custom fields on the right. Down below, we have our content variables if you're doing variable content, either on a landing page or an email. Move over to groups. And here we can see that Natalie's contact record here is a part of 2 groups. We can see whether or not she's suppressed from those groups or removed herself from those groups. But we can also easily add her to groups and browse groups here. We can see what emails she's been sent, whether she's viewed or clicked, so we can really start to get a feel for engagement for Natalie. We can see which landing page she's visited, how many visits, and whether she clicked or converted if there were forms on those pages. She has not responded to any surveys, or they would show up here. For website tracking, it's not enabled in this demo account, but we would be able to see which pages she visited when and how long she stayed on those pages. And we see an overall timeline, which is basically going to combine the elements of websites, surveys, pages, emails, and show you a complete history of Natalie's interactions with your content. So really powerful tools here if you have a sales team or a customer support team wanting to understand what kind of content Natalie engages with. And then the last piece is our contact scoring. And so we allow you to have up to 5 contact score models. Here we have 4 that have been executed. 1 is a long-term, and that's our default value here. So that, in our case, is looking at 365 days of activity for Natalie. And we've assigned weights to individual things like a click is worth this many points, a view or an open is worth this many. a landing page click is worth this much, a website visit is worth this much, totaling Natalie's contact score of 12, putting her in the 40th percentile here.
There are a couple things I really love on this from a user perspective. I think having the ability to like run a list on long and short term. So we just put together a marketing qualified lead campaign and compared how many people had reached a certain contact score on a 30-day model versus a 90-day model, and being able to see the difference there, even in like just a 60-day difference, kind of helped us shape who we wanted to invite to this event. The other thing I really love, and this is like one of those features that like if you've never had to use it, you don't realize how powerful and important it is under emails, now having the ability to see somebody pending for automated emails and being able to remove them from pending automation. Like if you've ever had to go track down a contact in the midst of like 6 or 7 automations, it's really handy to be able to do it from their record here instead of like having to go track them down. I think that was actually one of my feature requests.
More than once we heard that from you, yes. But others requested it as well, yes. All right, so just going back real quickly to the contact details. So we have a few clients that have a model where they have a corporate entity that manages franchises or other affiliates that need restricted access to some contacts. So basically, some people can email to Natalie, but others cannot. And so based on some specific requests, we now have the ability to add ownership of a record so that more than one person, if Natalie is an owned contact by one of our sales reps, for example, but a manager on that team also needs to be able to email Natalie, we can grant Natalie access to this. So in this case, you can add one or more people as a system user that can communicate with Natalie without being an actual admin in the system. So fairly edge case for most of the client base, but for those that have any kind of a franchise model, this is a really important update and very useful for allowing you to more than one individual to communicate with an owned contact.
That's really great. Yeah, these are awesome updates, and I mentioned a few that I really love there too. It looks like what we've got up next is reporting. Can you talk us through some of the new updates we've got on the reporting side?
Yeah, so let's go back through and we'll take a look at a sent message and just a couple of quick updates here. So if we look at a deployed campaign, again, this was a client request, was the ability to, that one's not going to show me. Hold on, let's go back to a different one here. Let's go to sent over all time and find one with some click history. So we had multiple requests for the ability to download a link report. And so when you get to your email summary, you can go over to links and you can click a download button over here on the right. And basically you're going to get a CSV file that's going to download here. You can open up that CSV file and get this entire report in a format that you can merge with other link reports so that you can get some cross-campaign reporting going there. The next piece in reporting is the ability to add surveys to your report structure. So for those of you that actively use this, we use it quite a bit for any kind of a campaign that we might deploy for an event. So you'll have a campaign that's designed around specifically around all content to support that event. So that could include manual emails, automated emails, might include transactional messaging, social posts that are specific to that event, any landing pages that are specific to the event. Do you want to include website tracking in this report as well? And now you can add surveys to this also. So by checking that box when you click view report, all of that information will aggregate here. And this, because this is a demo account, there's not a bunch of content there, but then of course all that reporting is available for download so that you can use that data in any form you need to create additional reporting or however you choose to use it.
Yeah, that's really great stuff there too. I love this. I still love that you can schedule this on a delivery and that it looks great in your inbox. I've often scheduled campaign reports for myself to land in my inbox at 6 a.m. on the 1st of each month. And even when you're bleary-eyed without contacts, it still looks great on your mobile phone when you wake up and check your email and go, oh, hell, the campaign's doing great. So that's really nice to have there as well.
Yeah, and one of the ways I use this as well is that I have a a daily and a monthly report that comes out to me. So essentially, tomorrow morning, I will get a report that it's fairly limited in scope. It will show me what email campaigns we deployed and what the results of those campaigns were. It will show me what our social posts were and whether or not there's any activity on those social posts. And that's all I do for the daily level. But I also have a monthly one that comes out on the 1st that looks back at the prior month, and it has a lot more detail to it. So it'll show me things like landing pages and conversions and things. And for the daily one, what I use it for is my a reminder to go engage with our contents, because I'm not online on all social channels every day. So when I can see that there's content that's been published, and part of my role is to help get some additional reach with that content, it gives me a cue to go in and engage with that content. And there's a link right there in that email that will take me directly to the post. So it's a really handy feature there.
And that's a great report for B2B marketers anyway, I think, if they're trying to get engagement across, like the sales channel to share posts and such. Like that's something that we do internally at Emfluence, where lots of different people get that report and can really quickly go engage with social content. And it serves as a really nice reminder, as you mentioned, with the link to go and engage with that content. So that's a really cool feature to set up too, and a little bit outside the traditional use of a report, like you might think of it.
Absolutely. I'm going to save this one real quick. And we'll just take a quick peek for those that may not be aware of how you would schedule a delivery for that. So enter the email recipient's email addresses here, and you can modify the report title and then set the cadence for when you want this to go out. So weekly, I have it go out on Monday, and monthly, I have it go out on the 1st. And then I could email a one-off report to anybody. So if you're one of our agency partners and you would like to email a report to your client, you could do that as well. So really nice feature set there. Let's take a real quick look at a significant workflow enhancement. So we rolled out workflows, I think it's been several years back now, and immediately got the request for the ability to have exclusion lists or exit conditions for a workflow. So if we take a look at this workflow now, in the upper right, you have an exit condition, and this is essentially a query. So I can choose to let's see here, only be anybody. Let's go back to a draft. So sorry about that. Let's go to edit unpublished, and we'll go to our exit condition, and we're going to add an exit condition. And here's our query. So for example, if I want to exclude everybody by domain, I could, or if they're in a certain group. So probably I would want to exclude, if it's a prospect email, everybody who's a current client. So I would probably have a current client there, and I could exclude everybody from this workflow. So essentially, if we're synced to your CRM, for example, and we start a workflow, and I get the first 3 emails because I'm a prospect, and then I convert, but the workflow has 10 more emails in it, it would be kind of embarrassing for you to continue to prospect me. So by putting an exit condition that says, is a member of group current clients, I would automatically exit that workflow, and you save yourself from that embarrassment.
And the ability to have a query and not just a group is so powerful, right? I mean, there could be any number of triggers that you're trying to run a workflow to. And so having the ability to pull even in from custom fields, like one of the types of clients I feel like we hear a lot from is like, well, what if we want to make note of an on-site visit? Well, if you can populate that on-site visit into a custom field through the API or otherwise, you can run a query against that too. It doesn't have to necessarily be a group.
Yeah, it really becomes powerful by using that query builder, and it's I think a really nice execution of the requests we heard from our clients saying, I need a way to have peace of mind that I'm not putting people into workflows where they do not belong. So we love the way that turned out and solved that problem for folks.
Yeah, that's really exciting. And we've got a whole list of things to get to in email, but we do have an update to the query builder as well while we're talking about it. Do you want to talk through that real quick?
Yeah, sure. We'll leave the page here, and we'll go to our query builder under contacts. And so this was a client request, and it was the ability to query by domain. So for example, if we wanted to just search for everybody that has a Gmail domain, we can do that and say, okay, well, we've got a list of 250 contacts there. We could also exclude a domain here. So again, this can be a query that runs, and it could be something that's part of a workflow. You can use it for inclusion or exclusion, but a nice feature request from a client there that's already getting some significant use.
And again, for B2B marketers, I definitely can appreciate the conundrums there of finding consumer domains in your MQL lists. But that's a really great way to even use that as an exclusion, right? So if you've got an MQL group that's comprised of people who attended webinars or events or downloaded content, and you want to run a more targeted campaign to get them to prospect stage, it's really easy to create the exclusion on consumer domains, which is nice too. So tons of cool use cases there. Well, as I mentioned, we've got a lot of updates in email. Let's jump over to those.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're in our sent messages now. And so again, client request here, the ability to search by template. So we have a large number of clients that actually have templates specific to either feature sets or service lines or things like that. And so they want to be able to easily see all emails that have been sent through a certain template type. So if I can change this to all time and say, show me every email that's been sent using the Acme Jetpacks 2017 template, I can pull back a list here. There's only one, but that would give me the entire list there. And I can then take that data and do whatever I choose to do with it. So quick fix there for some folks. Next item was kind of a unusual request from a client, but it's the ability to disable click and link tracking. So let's take a look at how that works. And so if I click on an existing draft, and right now we're in the preview test mode, but I'm going to drop back to the compose step. We have now, and this needs to be enabled on an account by account basis. So there's some things to consider when you do this, but let's take a look at what it does first. First of all, we have click tracking enabled. That is the default value for all emails. Otherwise, we just don't have much data to supply to you. We also have view tracking enabled. You can now turn one or both of those off, and you may have some compliance issues. And so that's one of the reasons this came about is we have a client that's sending to lots of other entities, lots of corporate domains, and those domains had specific requests not to track, click, or view activity. So it's as simple as just checking those two boxes and hitting the apply button. The downside of that, obviously, is we don't have a whole lot to report on other than your message was sent. But if that makes sense for you, that's available, and you can request that, and we can enable it for your account. We also added a reload button, so I'm going to go turn those back on for us here. In the preview test step, right now, if I want to preview this content for Natalie, I can type in her email address, and we can see that it's personalized for Natalie. We had some requests come in for people wanting to test what would happen if I go to a contact record now and I changed Natalie's name to Nat. I wanted to be able to just quickly reload this page and see that that change took effect. So this reload button has been added up here. Kind of a small request, but that was important to someone, and it wasn't too difficult for us to add that reload button there. So hopefully everybody's had a good chance to play with our pre-flight tools. At this point, our good friends at Email and Acid supply this data to us, and we pass it on to you for no additional cost. But it's an incredible tool for understanding how well your campaigns are rendering across multiple email clients. So I'm going to send this through our pre-flight feature now. And we're going to go out, we're going to get a rendering in Apple Mail and all kinds of versions of Apple Mail and Lotus Notes and Outlook and all these desktop options first. Then we'll go down and we'll have some mobile devices. And then we're going to have some web-based email clients. And you get a sense for whether or not your page and your HTML is rendering properly. You can expect it to look a little different on different devices. What you're looking for is an overall, are you satisfied with the way it sort of degrades across older email clients? And for the most part, if you're using a standard template in our system, you should be in great shape. If you start doing a bunch of custom HTML or adding some CSS or something like that, you need to make sure you're taking a look to see how that renders out. But point being here that these are sort of being updated on a regular basis. So as they come out with a new version of Outlook, as soon as Email and Acid deploys that in its function, in its feature set, it'll automatically get added to your feature set. So We'll always have the most current ones, and eventually some of the really old ones we will sort of deprecate out, and they'll drop off of our list here. So.
And I loved logging in and seeing dark mode as an option too. When they pushed dark mode, that was really great. Sometimes you get some surprises, things that you think will render really nicely. But our friends at Email and Acid were also kind enough to put together a really nice blog post on how to do like variable images. And we've got some really nice tip of the month to help with coding tips and tricks if you do see a lot of people using dark mode, which is definitely becoming more and more popular.
All right, so the next thing that we're looking at is the ability to pause a message that is currently being deployed. So we'll go back to messages here, and let's see, we'll go to our sent, and we notice here that it says paused. So this is an email that was designed to go out over time. In this case, it was a list of 4 recipients, but the reason you would throttle an email is if you're sending very high volume email to a single domain. So for most customers, that very high volume email would probably be a consumer domain like a Gmail or something like that. And if you flood Gmail with too many emails at one time, you can get deferred, which means they're going to slow you down on their own, or you could potentially get blocked. Other reasons you might want to throttle an email is that you have a call center that needs to respond to an email that's going out. And so that call center could get overwhelmed with calls if you send to a very large list. And by throttling an email over time, and we let you throttle up to 72 hours, you can then pace things out to satisfy either your call center or the domain that you're sending to. Also, if you're sending to a lot of email to a single corporate domain, maybe you have a single client that has a huge employee base, and you're trying to send a message to them, they may not want you sending tens of thousands of messages or hundreds of thousands of messages through their servers all at once. That's been around for a little bit, but the newest portion of that is the ability to pause an email that's in progress. So this one was designed to go out over an 8-hour period of time to 4 recipients, which means every 2 hours we're going to send it to one person. Not a very good use case, but good for our example here. Now you have the ability to pause that email while it's in progress and resume it if you'd like to resume it. So I'm not going to resume it here, but I could, and let me just go back to that real quick. You could change the throttling, you could remove the throttling, or you could just cancel the email altogether. So you have some options there. You can also get to a list of pending recipients. So you may also want to cancel a deployment while it's halfway through. So this is highly useful for the dreaded oops moment where you have had a typo or sent the wrong email at the wrong time, and you would love to throw on the emergency brake as best you can. So while any email is being deployed, if you're fast enough, you can pause or cancel it. And when you do pause or cancel it, if you choose to, you can go get the list of pending recipients. So this is the list of people who have not yet received it. You could move them over to a new group, create a new message that has the typo corrected, and at least that portion of your list gets the right message. Then you can decide if you want to go back to the people who actually received it and say to them, oops, or send a new message, or do nothing. So at least you have some options there. You do have to be pretty quick. If you're not a throttled email, 10,000 emails can go out really fast. And so obviously you want to do as much proofing and testing as you can beforehand, but the feature is there for you to use if you need it or would like to use it. Let's see here. So next feature is, again, a specific client request. So I'm going to go back to messages, and we'll go to our drafts, and we'll go to this message here again. We're going to go back to our compose step. So again, a specific request here to embed images within email. Very old school, the first emails that were coming through that were marketing messages, you would actually, paste in an image, and it would become actually part of the email and go into inboxes. That became a very common spammer tactic, and so spam filters started flagging that and for the most part blocking anything that had embedded images. And so that's why today, for the most part, images are hosted on a website somewhere and linked to through a URL. And so that is the way 99.9% of all emails delivered. However, we did have some specific request come in for the ability to actually embed an image to make sure 100% sure that the image was seen by the intended recipient, assuming they open the email. You do have that ability, but it does disable our ability to do view tracking, because our pixel or tracking pixel is an image. And when we embed the rest of these images in the email, that one also would get embedded and no longer trackable. So edge case uses here, it might be an interesting test if you wanted to take a very small segment of your audience and see if you sent something with your images embedded and your tracking disabled. The only thing you have left to look at is a conversion rate on your site or on an e-commerce site or something like that. But maybe you do a better job of getting into the inbox. We don't have an answer for that yet, but the feature is there if you'd like to test it. All right, the last piece is just, again, a little bit of an update to our header information up here. Let me go back to the compose step. Hopefully everybody's had an opportunity to tag their campaigns with Google Analytics. So we have some default values that'll drop in there for us. We had, again, a client request for that information to be included in the header as they go throughout the compose process. So when we go to our details here, we can see our tracking parameters are included right there in the header, and that stays persistent across the rest of the process as you go through the compose step.
Yeah, those are some great updates and very exciting. The next update that we've got is a little bit more on the backside of things, and we've kind of overhauled the Microsoft Dynamics integration, and it's now managed largely in the Emfluence marketing platform. Do you want to talk a little bit about what that looks like?
Yeah, so we'll take a quick look at, for those of you who are Dynamics customers, you've had an opportunity to see the embedded experience of the Emfluence marketing platform within your CRM. So we are in live instance of Dynamics here, and we have an Emfluence link here on the right, and that embeds our entire user experience, and you can basically work right from within Dynamics. If we go back to take a look at how that integration is actually configured, you go to your options and Dynamics integration, and it'll pull up a host of configuration options. So there's some work to be done here, but for the most part, it's a one-time setup. And so we allow you to map to one or more entities within Dynamics. So most frequently, you're going to either map to your contacts or your leads, but we've had requests for people that wanted to map to either a custom entity or the account entity. Basically, you can map to any entity as long as it has an email address present on the entity record. And on the entity layout. So once you've done that, you're going to spend some time mapping fields. And so that's just exactly what you would expect. You'd say, I want the account name field in CRM and Dynamics to map to the company name and Emfluence, first name to first name, last name to last name. We use the owning user as our account rep in Emfluence for our accounts, and company phone to phone, and map what you want to map. We do highly encourage you to subscribe to a data minimization principle. So only map what you're going to use. You don't want lots of data spread out across multiple technology stacks. It's just not good practice. So map the information that you're going to either use to personalize messages or run queries in Emfluence. Then you have some basic configuration for your entity sync settings. So who do you want the Emfluence user it's syncing on behalf of to sync to? What is the priority for this sync? So if you have multiple syncs, you have contacts, leads, and accounts. Which one is the most important? Which one will override the others? You have group mapping, so you can say I want to map a current customer marketing list in Dynamics to the current customer group in Emfluence. And here's again just a recap of your field mappings there. Activity sync settings. So this is what activities that we record do you want pushed back into Dynamics. So you are creating some redundant data here. So if, for example, you want every sent email to every individual, a copy of that noted in Dynamics, you can turn that on. You can turn on the view activity, the click, the bounce, the complaint, the unsubscribe for landing pages, views, clicks, conversions, survey starts and completions, and web page views as well. Advantage of having it there is that you can also run queries in Dynamics, and you can create and you can use Flow or Power Automate to create downstream activities. So for example, when someone converts on a landing page, you might want to create an activity that makes a change in your CRM for you, or do lots and lots of powerful things with Power Automate from within Microsoft Dynamics.
It's also
we don't
nice,
have
I
any.
think, for sharing sales data, right? So like if your sales team wants to know how marketing is currently nurturing their prospects, it's a great way for them to see, hey, are my prospects getting marketing emails? What are they doing with marketing emails? And especially with like website tracking, if your sales team's going to go make a follow-up phone call, they can quickly go see what pages somebody might have been looking at on your website and make a decision as to how they're going to guide that phone call. So I'm team sales and marketing alignment, and I feel like that's a really nice way to integrate that experience and make those teams work more efficiently together.
Absolutely. So the last piece here we'll show is the ability to sync landing pages. So we don't currently have any landing pages configured to sync to the lead entity, but when you get to that response page step on the landing page generator, you have the ability to choose to sync to Dynamics. And when you do that, that landing page would end up here, and you'd have some options for how that's configured. So it's a much nicer integration than our past version, and it's given us a lot more stability within the Microsoft ecosystem to manage what we're doing, because we put control within our environment where we can very quickly make updates and changes and correct things there. And we also love the fact that you can control the data consumption in Dynamics as well, because if you're sending millions and millions of emails and you're pushing all that data back into Dynamics, you are in fact adding to your data consumption, and it's something that there's a fee associated with. So you can either have it or not have it, and that's one of the kind of nice options with this new integration.
As a personal user, I really love new integration. I think it's super easy to use and really easy to control data syncing back and forth. So I'm a big fan of the newest integration. The last thing that we've got here is just a quick update on certification and how we're handling that. I really love the new tool that we're using, but I'll let you talk a little bit about it.
Yeah, well, actually, I'm going to push that back to you. I'll show the page and you talk about certification. How's that?
Sure, that sounds great. So we do offer online certification. We've done this for about a year now, and as it stands right now, we've currently got basic certification online. It's a great tool that we're using through Teachable. I know in the coming months we're going to be adding some additional content here, probably around advanced certification, as well as some kind of email training, email how-to videos that should be really, really exciting. If there are some things that you all would like to see us build content around, we are more than happy to take requests. So if there are some types of classes or certifications or things that training materials you'd like to see, we would probably take that to heart and see when we could get them on the calendar as well. So let us know. That does take us through the rest of our newest feature updates for Q1. We will plan on doing this again at the end of Q2. I'm sure we've got lots of features I know that are already planned and in development that we'll be excited to talk about. Before we let everyone go, does anyone have any questions or any comments that they want to bring up? I'll give you a second to answer. And Dave, if there's anything you'd like to say to wrap us up.
Yeah, so I just a quick reminder to everyone. So we do have an automated email that goes out once a month. And what it does is it looks for anybody who sent an email yesterday and asks you about how the experience went. So we're basically saying, give us a 1 to 10. How was it? We're asking you what you like the most, what you like the least, and what else you want us to build for you. And we read every single one of those emails, and every feature request makes it into our queue for determination as to whether or not when and where it will make it on the roadmap. So fill that out as often as you would like. Again, it's set up so you only get it once a month. And we love to hear your feedback there. And if something's not going well, we can and will fix it. We just need to know what it is. So we're very much listening to what you have to say.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Dave. We will process this recording and get it distributed to everyone. Thanks again for everyone who attended, and let us know if you have any questions. We look forward to sharing the video and seeing you all next quarter. All right.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.